Good morning, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here this morning, especially with Vishak. And as we realize, it's maybe too early. I don't think we should start these things at 10 o'clock. It will never happen, especially after a long night. Anish already pointed out, it went out till 2 a.m., I believe. So next time around, we'll start at 11 or 11:30 when people have woken up. So anyways, coming to our topic today and what retailers want. And when this topic was sent to me, the first thing that came to my mind was a very old movie called What Women Want. And Mel Gibson was electrocuted to be able to hear women's minds and try to understand this question. And I said, I don't think I need to go through that motion. We have reasonable people here. They will voice out what they need. So that's a good part. And we've got a bunch of developers who hopefully will absorb what they say and start doing. Ravinder, I heard your point. As a static operate procedure, we got so many people that we want to bring together and get nuggets of wisdoms out of each one of them. And we've got about 25, 30 people on this panel, which Adish went on and on and on, inviting everybody. When I was talking to Vishak last evening, and Vishak said, we don't want to go through the same motions. Let's try and spice it up a little bit. Let's make it more engaging and entertaining. So we said, let's look for a 2.0 on this version. And so we're going to change the format a little bit. And I'm going to request you, actually, the first row, if you see, is reserved. That we reserved for the speakers to come and sit there. And we're going to get you to do some workshop.
So as the panelists work on this, let me ask each one of you, imagine an ideal mall, a perfect mall. Okay? Now just tell me what would some of the characteristics of this perfect mall be? It'll help the panelists also to get warmed up. Maybe I ask Pushpa first. What would, you have a mic here? All right. There were mics around. We'll borrow this for a bit. Okay. So, your idea of a perfect mall?
I want to answer it slightly differently. See, the perfect mall is if it's answering the needs of the consumer in the private, the primary catchment and to the secondary catchment. So this, I believe that we are seeing the evolution of consumers in India. And we think that they're middle class, then their aspiration becomes upper middle class. So things are evolving. So a perfect mall is one which is able to adapt to the evolving needs of consumers as the time goes by. So, for example, a Mall of India, it used to be perfect in a certain type. Now it has to change. So to me, it's that. Second is a perfect mall is one where experiences for the consumers are very relevant, and the brands are also looking at it in sync with the mall.
Thank you, Pushpa. See how effortlessly she plugged Mall of India into the conversation. Thank you for that. Any other perspectives on a perfect mall? As a retailer, as a consumer, what do you think would be a perfect mall? Amitabh?
So I think, first of all, we should start looking at malls as social spaces rather than shopping spaces. That could be a perfect mall, and that will become the best shopping space if we start creating social spaces.
Superb. So we had Pushpa who said connect with the consumer, especially in the primary catchment. We have Amitabh saying make these nice social spaces beyond just commercial spaces.
As per me, every region has a particular catchment. A perfect mall is there who understands the catchment and has the right mix of the brands there. So that's my personal opinion about...
in a way, that's what Pushpa also said.
Yeah.
Have a tenant mix, have the kind
Understand
of...
your region. See, today, if the region is not going to help that brand, there's no point bringing that brand because you want it. So, and the brand mix is also important to that.
Super.
Yeah, that's my personal view.
Any retailers here? Your idea of a perfect mall? Go for it. Fine.
I'm from the mall industry itself. I would say a perfect mall is one where the customer wants to keep going back to. like Amitabh said, malls are no more shopping destinations, they're social spaces. Shopping is only incidental. People come there to, spend time with their friends, families. Like I said yesterday, they come there to make memories. And that's what malls are today. And I think malls have to keep changing, keep evolving to meet today's customers' requirements.
Super, super. So let me ask a slightly different question. What is it that you would like to have in a mall, which currently none of the malls have? All right? You've been volunteered.
See, when we talk about malls, malls are basically entities which comprise of everything and anything under single roof. Now, looking out or finding out that one thing which is missing in the malls, there won't be something like that. I really doubt, because some of the malls are offering few things and then there are other malls fulfilling that bridge. I personally feel that while we are looking at a commercial approach, when we look at the malls, we have to focus on experiences. And when we talk about experiences, experience for family, experience for kids, I mean, there has to be a balance in between the commercial and the experience-centric approach. That is what my opinion is. So there has to be equal focus on that
Fair.
area.
But I'm going to ask my question again. What is it that you would want from a mall which currently none of the malls have? And anybody else can also take this. Anything at all? Or the malls have thought it all?
So I think one thing that we've also experienced is the supporting elements. So maybe, mixed-use developments, supporting residential, co-working. So some other elements to add to just retail.
All right, so got it. Mixed-use malls. Yep. Okay, this question is to the mall guys. Okay, any of the mall fraternity here. What is the funniest thing that you've been asked for as a request or a demand from a retailer? Craziest, funniest, wackiest thing you've ever been asked? Okay, that sounds logical. Yeah. Okay, well, again, sounds very logical. Have clean buildings, have low capex, yes. But these don't sound very funny, they sound logical. What's the funniest thing you guys have been asked? All right? Kiraya mat do, okay? Kiraya mat mango. Yeah, take the mic, take the mic. Okay, I don't know where the mic went. Yeah, here.
It's my experience actually. What happened is I was also in one of the mall, and one of the user experiences that I want my pets to be there. So they want that some pet-friendly places and mall should
Very
provide
interesting
such kind
thought,
of
by the
things.
way. I don't know if any of the mall developers have thought of a pet-friendly mall. Very, very interesting.
Thank you.
Yeah. There are offices now which are pet-friendly offices, so it's a very interesting thought.
Yeah,
Thanks
in
for
fact, the
sharing
airport areas also, it's
Yeah.
getting pet-friendly. So now the users are looking out for the mall spaces also
Very
where the
interesting.
pets can be
that.
taken.
Lovely thought. Thank
So,
you for
Yeah,
that.
thank you.
So just a point here on the pets aspect part of it. So the cyber hub, which is at Gurgaon, is a pet-friendly property essentially.
All
so
right,
that's
another
where
three-pointer for the DLF
all
group.
Pets are sort of welcome.
Nicely said. So, Cyber Hub, if you're visiting, please take your pets along. All right, there was a hand here. Yeah. Can I take the mic?
I have been asked by a retailer to carve out some additional space outside my mall specifically for them, to be different, to be
Like
on
an
the road.
outhouse.
Yes, something similar.
Interesting. Did you give it?
I'm still wondering how would I be able to give it.
Interesting. That sounds wacky. Yeah. Can you pass the mic there?
Hi. Actually, there are two things. One thing is the VR Bengaluru, is actually a pet-friendly mall. We do have a restaurant where, you can actually have your pets and you can go out for shopping. So that's available. Talking about the most hilarious request I got, this was it was sort of a startup this one. And they asked me, I want to take your space. and I'll see whether I'm profitable. Once I start making money, I'll give you something. I was like, I'm not VR charities, but yeah, I couldn't accept it.
All right, thanks for sharing that. Okay, I think the panelists are ready. So we'll take that one last comment and then we move to the panelists.
I think all my friends and colleagues will agree to one thing, which all of us encounter on day-to-day basis is that they're so-called VIPs. They needed direct access to the mall. They want to park right in front of the mall and they want a drop-off provision right there and they want to get in.
This must be a Delhi thing.
No.
I don't think. All right, one last comment and then we move to the panelists.
As a user or as a customer, one of the things that I feel is important is malls should be democratic. As in, I've read and I've seen also in certain cases in Hyderabad that just because there's a large retailer in that mall, he doesn't allow other similar retailers to be there. There's a reason why we as customers want to come to malls, because we should be able to experience all products from all brands. And if you kind of, the bigger players play the exclusivity game, it's not fair on the customers.
Okay, sounds a little socialistic, but we'll take that. All right, thank you all for that. We move to the panelists now, who I'm sure have a lot of requirements of what they would want from malls. So over to you, Bimal.
Okay, why don't we start from the people furthest away from you? They are not at a distance where you can throw stones at them. So why don't we go to call this table one? Why don't we go to table one and you guys take it? That's why I started.
Give the mic. There is a mic.
There's a mic. So these are on the least terms. So I said, let's start with the spiciest.
Yeah, hi, good morning. I think while three of us were discussing our points, surprisingly all of us had same pain points. Dealing on them on a day-to-day basis, month on month. As I said, I've done around 15 renewals this financial year, so coming out of experience. We listed down a few points for them to... the most important one is the lease terms getting shortened. Our payback periods are between 5 years, depending on the product. How much capex is put in, between 5 to 10 years, the written down period. And the lease terms are getting shortened, sometimes 3 years, sometimes 5. So that is my point.
Guys, Bimal, I'll just add on to that, especially for a hypermarket, right? Sometimes I get requests like we can't do anything more than 9 years, which is practically impossible for a hypermarket to sign. We literally, as Pranav said, right, also have paybacks of, let's say, 5 to 6 years. And for a hypermarket to invest, let's say, 3,000 to 4,000 rupees a square feet and open a store for a period of 9 years becomes extremely, a very difficult decision to make. And anything below 15 years is extremely, it's like a non-negotiable for us. So that is something I think all three of us agreed to, that the lease tenure, right? We understand what the malls also need. They need a churning period. And that's why they want to keep the lease tenures as minimum as possible. But that is something which probably should be a clear-cut, understanding between the two parties.
Sure. You want to take this up? And your thoughts?
Sorry, Bimal, just one more thing. On a lighter note, I represent Tim Hortons. My first request is, तुम मुझे जगह दो, मैं तुम्हें coffee दूंगा. Right? So, I mean, we've been struggling to find the right spaces at the right malls. But nevertheless, yeah, I mean, just to add to what both my panelists said, we cannot have open-ended renewals. We cannot have kiosk outside our stores. I mean, so many operational things, so many hidden charges as part of the agreement, right? It only adds, it only drains the P&L a little more than what we would have anticipated.
Sure. Got your point, Vishak. So let's take the first one of them, and the reducing these tenures. Let's start with that, and then we go on to the next points. But
I'll take this one.
Please, Rayan.
So I'll start with a statement that P&L is both sides. It's not just yours. But your eligibility. Now hear it very carefully. What I'm saying. Your eligibility to occupy the space is your ability to generate business, not your propensity to pay. So the mall has to remain relevant for over the years, and Of course, there are new brands which are coming, and the brand and the mall as a product, to stay relevant, there has to be certain new fresh blood which has to be infused. There has to be new brands which have to come in. And the brands who are occupying space in the mall also have this responsibility to remain relevant in the market as well. So if your trading densities are not matching up, if it's not growing the way it should grow over the years, then obviously there'll be a conversation which will be initiated from the mall side where, maybe a marketing initiative, maybe certain product change, maybe VM change. There may be a number of things which may be affecting your trading density, dropping down or not growing the way we expect it to grow. So having said that, the mall has to remain agile. And over the last decade and a half, most of the developers have also realized that the proportion in which the new brands which are entering the country, the mall has to also get, make space for these new brands so that they're able to also capitalize on the kind of sales these guys are able to generate in the first few years, 3 years. So each category has a category leader, each category has a few brands, new brands entering the foray. So it's a lot of pressure on our side. So when I'm addressing your P&L issues, when you know that we're going to offer you a 3+2 kind of a deal, you have to accordingly work out your fit out. You have to accordingly work out your P&L. You have to accordingly work out what kind of money you're investing in the store, so that you remain relevant and you remain agile as well at your end, and you remain profitable within that period of time. Pranav, does that answer your question?
It does, Rehan. I think none of the DLF brands expect us to spend less than any other mall that we have stores in.
No, it's not about, it's about, we never mentioned that ki itne paise ka aap saman lagao. We only mentioned that you have to maintain a certain quality. So probably you have to get better with your sourcing.
So I'm going to cut that off, and we'll take that as a question and answer.
Bimal, yeah, I know this is a never-ending story,
yes,
but I'll just say it's a vicious cycle. Let's face it, it's a vicious cycle. They have a certain expectation of this is what we can give you, and we're going to have an expectation of, what, isse kam hum nahi kar payenge. So I think we'll just leave it at that.
I think that's what will come to a few of these points, which are going to be longer discussions. But why don't we come to table 2 and come up with your first point?
Hello. So we were looking at the marketing initiatives topic. We had 4 points. I'll just be very precise with them. So the first one was, there are a lot of events that the malls...
Let's go with 1 point right now.
Okay. A lot of events that the malls do in terms of their ATL activations, etc. Barring a few, we've not seen a lot of prior intimation being shared with the brands that an event is about to be done, or say a large amount of communication going out to the customers. Because if the brands are aware, so the point is prior intimation to the brands that an ATL campaign is running out to the customers or to the larger audience, brands could be well prepared, say with their stocking or with their any promotions, manpower arrangement, etc. Because we'll be seeing a surge of walk-ins happening into the mall and to certain stores. So the brands should be better prepared if there's a prior intimation given to the brands before an ATL campaign is rolled out or a season campaign is rolled out.
That's a great point, and if you're not aware, you can't be prepared. So guys, you want to respond? Who wants to take this one?
Responding to the ATL activities that usually a mall is expected to roll out from week to week, month to month, and season to season, it becomes very, very tough for us to reach out to possibly everyone on the floor. However, there are SOPs in place wherein the mall management team reaches out to your respective RMs and marketing heads. But because we don't get approvals on time, so we have to move on from where we started off. And that takes a lot of time because from the developer's front, we take a call and then we roll out the mail. But while the retailers has to go back to their respective teams, budgeting, take the approvals, and then share their confirmation for all of this, that takes a lot of time and energies for the developer. So that is the reason why there are a lot of times we do hyperlocal, hypermarathons, and the cyclothon events. And we have almost all the 9 athleisure brands on the floor with us. And hardly any time there are 2 partners on board. 7 of them are still fighting the battle of taking approvals, either by the means of GV or by gift goods or by merchandising, and it just goes on and on and on.
So, Ravindra, I think the point was intimation, not partnership in this one.
But
it was about at least intimating them so that they can prepare for it.
For everything that goes out, be it ATL, be it a weekend activity, be it a smallest of the concert, or anything which will result in higher footfalls, will always be going out to every retailer and with a sufficient timeline.
Great. So I think Vegas is doing it. We need to figure out about the others.
Fair enough. I probably think at a practical level, what tends to happen is the people who are informed by the mall are not necessarily the people in the retailer side who actually going to act on it. Probably, and we've discussed this earlier times with shopping center groups, etc. How do we create coordination groups between malls and tenants, so that for each mall there is a fulcrum which disseminates information. So maybe it might be useful to bring open that thought again later. Yeah.
I think, I'm sorry I'm interrupting in this,
Please.
but the best, the idea is to bring traffic. The mall is doing activities to bring traffic to the store. The brands are doing activities, respective brands are doing activities to bring traffic to their store in the mall. The best way is to actually align your marketing calendars right in the beginning of the year, so that the brands know what the mall is doing, and we could share our resources. Why spend double the money to bring the same traffic to the mall or to the stores?
I can make one comment here, and we'll close it after that. Is probably we are not as organized as you are, Sumit. That's about it.
If you want me to add, I can tell you. Part of the tenant enrollment, right? They take all the names of the people whose operations, legal, finance. This only matters, but there is nowhere that people have asked who is the person right to be contacted for marketing. It is not part of the tenant enrollment list at all. So what happens? The communication goes to the store manager. What the store manager will do? He will only escalate, forward it. I think all the developers have to take is who is the right person for the brand to take the decisions with respect to marketing participations, etc. Based on that, the communication goes to the right person, so that the prior information, of course, the calendarization and which is in advance, that is, if not of the whole year, at least on a quarterly basis rolling, if it starts coming from the developers, I think it will be more retailers will be participating into that.
Sure, absolutely, Raghu. And I think Vishak gave a good suggestion already that maybe we need those fulcrums or those groups to be created.
Could be simple WhatsApp groups or email groups, etc., which probably we could construct.
Perfect. We'll come to tenant mix and zoning as the next point. So you want to take your most important of the top point?
Sure. Since we had two areas, which is zoning and tenant mix.
Yes.
Okay, so if I'm allowed two questions.
Let's start with one.
Okay. So, okay, we'll start with what first we like. We like is the mall which operates across the day part, which is primarily hyper, cinema, community spaces, all of that. It gives a lot of longevity across the day business and especially helps for a brand like us. But I think in general, it definitely helps F&B. So that's what we like on tenant mix. From a zoning, two areas that we feel, at least from an F&B space, should help, do good for the brands. One is a clustered zone versus fragmented across the levels. I think the moment it is clustered, it definitely helps the overall food business go up. And the second part is a lot of Western fast food, and in fact, today even Indian fast food is going digital. Okay, so we would like to access more customer touch points across the mall by the means of kiosk or multiple ordering points, so that customer is obviously able to enjoy the brand across the mall versus just one area.
It's a very nice point, and I think F&B is something everybody is talking about. And I'm going to come back to you guys, and some of your malls are clustered. Some of you have decided to scatter it across the mall, across floors. So you guys want to take it, which one works better, and how you want to respond to this?
I'll take that. Stevie from Prestige. One of the things we've seen with F&B is, I mean, if you're looking at a 1 million square feet mall or an A-grade development, it has to have a mix of both. So you have to have a clustered, dedicated F&B zone. It could be your food courts, it could be your restaurant zones. But you're also going to have certain amounts of island F&B, because in between shopping floors, people are going to want to take a break. They're going to sit down and have a coffee. So it's how you plan the whole thing. Touch points, brilliant point. I think we should have multiple touch points. A lot of brands are experimenting with it, where you can remote order and then you can pick up your order from any one of the delivery points in the mall. I think we're gung-ho about it. And just one more thing, and I think I represent the entire fraternity of developers here. All of us have understood how important F&B is. F&B is the hero of the story. I mean, we ourselves are planning malls which are primarily F&B focused, 40, 60, 70 outlets. So we completely understand the importance of F&B, and it's what makes a mall a customer center.
Valid point. So we are saying we're going to scatter it around is the way to go, and cluster on one level. So both ways. Of course, depends on the size of the project. I want to just get one perspective, additional second answer, Rehan, and to you. What's your experience with Commons, let's say it? Because you clustered it and you floored it differently, but you clustered in one corner. How did that work out for you?
Commons is contrary to the market perception. I think it's climbing every day, and it's tree in the making. I think it's growing great guns. So I think the key takeaways for Commons was that we put all the stalwarts in one bucket, and there, of course, there'll be some laggards when you're putting all the stalwarts together. So I think that's one learning that we came along, that we have to look at the category leaders. So the weaklings, of course, in one or two churns, the fittest survive. So in that natural process of growth,
but putting them together in one cluster worked is what you're saying.
It's working. It's working.
That's
See, Commons is also a colonial baby. So there was liquor license issues. There were other issues which were pertinent to Commons, and those have affected Commons. But now, the last 6-8 months, I think it's growing tremendously. Out of about 25 brands, we have about 12 brands which are hitting revenue share, and they're big numbers. They're not signed at easy numbers. These are numbers, big numbers. We're talking about 4,000-5,000 rupees per square foot kind of trading density for F&B, which is brilliant. Which is brilliant. So Commons is going great guns.
Excellent. So I guess it's a clustered approach.
So again, Bimal, it's in terms of, see, it actually depends. Clustering actually depends on the size of the project. So
sure,
if the size of the project is too small, then you may have F&B on the ground as well, and doesn't make a difference.
Right.
So, but and you may have a drive-in, and you may have a you'll have some QSRs thrown in on the ground floor. But if you're looking at a organized, large, million square foot plus kind of a development, obviously these clusters and zonings are more pertinent if you're looking at a larger development. If you're looking at plazas, you're looking at smaller stores, you're looking at very small developments, I don't think the zoning will be too much of an issue.
Sure, appreciate it. Mall of India, yes, it makes sense. Likewise, for a city capital, having 2 food courts at the bottom and top adds value.
Speak closer to the mic.
Sorry, so I guess clustering both ways goes. Coming to the next topic, which is on the design and placemaking. Sumit, you're taking that one. The first point, whichever one.
We just have one so far. So while this issue is not only for global brands, it's for the regional and the local Indian brands as well. But from a global brand perspective, we want to bring the global fashion into the country, global brands into the country. But when we design the malls, we don't take their requirements into consideration while designing. We design the mall first, and then go to the brand that this is what space we can give you. The perspective of a brand is not taken whether the brand wants to do a flagship over here, or a smaller store, depending on the catchment or the potential of the market. So I think the understanding of what the brand or the retailer can bring to the table, whether it's global or regional brand, should be taken first before getting into the designing phase.
Guys, new mall developments, are you guys taking this into account, or how are we going on this?
See, coming from a different vertical in real estate, I can understand what you're trying to say here. The key issue would be that in order for this to become a reality, you will need to know your brands first. Only then you can take a feedback from them, because different brands, even within the same segment, may have different requirements. So it is not easy. And also, we have to take designing from two perspectives. One is, of course, there are certain local laws which are applicable. You have to adhere to that. You cannot go out of those norms. And secondly, the life cycle. The brand, if let's say we design a building as per a brand and the brand leaves in 5 years, the other brands may not find that design to be relevant. In office segment, yes, these things were fairly common, wherein we knew who the client is and he's taking 2 million, 3 million, 4 million square foot of space. So we could have designed it for them because we knew that they're going to be there at least for 9 years. And once they have spent that much of money, usually they ended up being in a building for more than 15 years. So I think that's a challenge in taking a feedback as far as retail is concerned from the retailers in designing the building.
Obviously, knowing your wish list comes first. Obviously, you will have list 1, list 2, list 3. And this feedback should, or understanding the brand's requirement, or even if they want to come to that center or that market, should come much ahead, which way you can plan it better from a brand's perspective and from the catchment's perspective also. It might not make sense for me to do a 2,000 square foot store in a market like Mumbai. But I would want to do a 5,000 square foot store or 10,000 flagship store. But that understanding has to come much in advance even before you start designing the mall, because then I am compromising on what I can bring to the table for the consumer in that market.
Yeah, this is more in the perspective of smaller malls, right? So we have one of a premise where we would want the retailers to look at the design that is existing and adapt to the design. But we see the retailers are actually having a fixed mindset where they say we need the frontage of so much. If the frontage, we have a property where there's a frontage of 100 feet and the depth is only about 30 feet. They're like, hey, we have 100 feet, that's good, but we need 60 feet of depth. But there's a lot of open space that they can use. But there's a fixed mindset with the developer, the retailer, where they say, hey, no, this doesn't work for us. It would be nice if the retailers can look beyond. See, we're basically not only a developer here, we're also a design and construction company. So a design can be adapted, it can be made to work. So it's more like a question also, because if retailers can look beyond a set design, so that'll be something.
I will take both the points and I'll try and summarize this point. It's a very important point, Sumit, you brought up, and we got one perspective on the response. So one thing from a retailer perspective, I just want to add, a lot of times, sorry, Ashwin, you want to jump in? So the weightage on the developer side is increasing. Now we have Ashwin also on board.
Firstly, apologies, I'm late. And
so one request that came from the audience is that anybody taking the mic, please introduce yourself before you start speaking so that everybody knows who it is.
Hi, good morning all. This is Ashwin. I'm from Brookfields Estate. We run a mall in Coimbatore. See, again, I think just taking off of Sumit, I'm sorry I'm late. I didn't take. See, even retailers' space requirements, he's talking about doing a flagship stores, are constantly evolving. I remember a time, I think Vishak is here, and when Pata signed up the mall, he said, we are not doing stores above 1,000 square feet, right? We don't want anything, so we had...
Now we say square meters.
And the same team, 10 years on, come and see, and a building is set in stone, literally, right? So there's a lot of less flexibility on that. So when we go down to talk, I don't know, like Sir also brought up that point, the commitment to that design, whether it's going to be there for 12, 15 years, the retailers have to answer that question.
Sure. I'm going to try and summarize this, and I'll address your points as well. One, from Sumit's perspective, if we are trying to get and position ourselves at a particular level, let's say mid-level or a premium, wherever we're going, or luxury for that matter, we need to create those spaces that are good for those retailers. They are not going to come into your center because you have that location or because you're doing a mall. They'll come if the space fits and if your mix fits. Simple as that. A lot of times what we see when we are out as consultants, and I'm being neutral here, is that the mall is designed by an architect who's sitting somewhere, God knows, wherever he would be sitting. And the developer has not given the right inputs. And the right inputs in that case is a mix that should have gone, that on the ground floor, first floor, second floor, what kind of stores, what sizes of stores are required. And while I've got Ashwin, yours and Mukesh's point, that it is not flexible and they keep changing and evolving and everybody's requirements keep changing. And that is true. That's with the market and how the business evolves, that everybody has to change strategies. You can't have one strategy and say this is going to work forever. It will never happen. And that's why it is important to have flexibility in our designs. It's made in stone, literally, but we need to have flexibility in the design. And that's where your architect has to be pushed, and I'm sure they can make flexible designs for you, where you can create. Rian will talk about it. Rian doesn't agree.
Okay, so if we were to just put this together, you want longer leases, right? So that there is predictability. They spend a lot of money on capex. You want to make sure that the trading density continues to be high as you do that, so that the mall stays relevant. We've all seen what happens if a mall is not relevant. Nobody goes to that mall, and then you don't really want that long lease in that mall. So we have to make sure that we successfully perform in the mall and hence enjoy long leases. And I think that is going to be one challenge that we've got. Clearly, everybody sees promotions and marketing as an important opportunity together. If we could create better methods of coordinating this, creating force multipliers where the retailers and the malls together share calendars, share coordination mechanisms so that the events can become stronger. Some malls do it a little better than the others, especially the regional malls have figured out how to do this because they have a tighter knit of tenant mix perhaps. I think we have to find a way of solving for that. Greater flexibility, adaptability of malls to meet retailers' needs. I must say some malls, like I used to run hypermarkets where malls would give me right from trolley movement spaces to a whole lot of goods movement, loading, unloading, all of that in a very different context. So there are malls which have done that beautifully. I guess malls have their own challenges when they're sitting on that layout. There are a million considerations and constraints that come into their place, and I guess they will have to deal with that. And yet, one more constraint can be what the retailer wants, and perhaps look at that sharper. I also think on zoning mix, and this is personal view which I have. You know, one of the jobs I do as a fashion retailer is to do wardrobe audits. Okay, when I do wardrobe audits, we basically go to people's houses and open their wardrobes and check what they've got. It's a huge range. Okay, there are people who have in their wardrobe a Peter England shirt, and a Zara shirt, and a Ralph Lauren shirt, and a Tommy Hilfiger shirt, and those shirts effortlessly stack one on top of the other. And I'm sure, ask your own wardrobes what kind of mix you've got, and I'm sure you will all have a very similar thing, right? And yet somehow we've got into a mindset of zoning, especially by price points, right? So there might be some food for thought here, in terms of is your zoning mirroring the way consumers do their shopping? All right. On that note, I do think there is, it would be unfair if we don't ask what malls want. All right. So here is your chance. Okay. A lot of prominent retailers sitting here. Go ahead. What do you want from your ideal retailer?
We didn't go out of syllabus, guys.
From the ideal retailer, this is Monish from Express Avenue. From the ideal retailer, what we expect is a robust business plan to achieve their targets so that, you know, the malls achieve their revenue shares. A solid marketing plan, like how the brands expect the malls to do marketing. The mall also expects, if we have 200 plus stores, and if every brand does their own marketing in their own way, it will have a multiplier effect on the mall. And the third thing is in the store operations, how aggressive your store's sales teams are to do the conversions. Because if the mall gets the footfalls, the product team has done their job. At the end of the day, if the sales team is not motivated enough to convert, the whole exercise, the whole effort goes waste. So how structured our training programs, sales training programs are
conducted by the brands? Quite simply, He's asking us to do our jobs well, okay, to make sure that you deliver on the business plans that you've got for these stores, to make sure that the stores are run really well, and so on. I think it's a fair ask, but anybody who wants to respond to that? Oh yeah, go ahead.
Munish, by footfalls, I hope you meant relevant footfalls, not crowds, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Because it makes sense for the mall also.
Hi, good morning everyone. Sneha this side representing High Design. So basically as a brand, every 45 days we do have new product launches, new collection launches. And however, to showcase them, we do push from ourselves to reach out to customers, let it be social media marketing, let it be influencer marketing, SMS rollouts, and all the campaigns and launch everything. But at the same time, we also seek support from the mall where we can showcase our sustainability and craftsmanship and do the storytelling of what the brand is. Yes, as brand, I'm sure all of the brands have their own SOPs on their store operations. They are aggressive, and just that the retailer and the mall should be more hand in hand, where we get equal support from the mall as well, so that we also achieve our targeted sales numbers from particular malls.
Yeah, thanks for that, Sneha.
Yeah, hi. Sahil from Chroma. So, in my opinion, what Munish said that everybody has a plan. When a year starts, all the brands and the mall, everybody have their plan. And I think what Sneha said, everybody have their SOPs and everything to follow. I think problem comes when those plans are not being achieved. So like at the start, the Q1 sales are not being achieved. Then even the store team start getting panicking, which definitely impacts the store in a bad way in terms of cutting the corners and all that. So I think it's more important to understand what need to be done when the plan A is not working. Do a mall and to some extent retailer do have a plan B? If like Sunit just said, just note about the footfall. Mall might be generating a good footfall. Is that footfall relevant? Is the footfall like what most of the mall have zoning? Is the right footfall going to the right zone, which is helping to the retailer to achieve their numbers?
A very valid point. I want to just summarize this point, and I think one thing that Munish was trying to say is what happens when it does not happen. It is not about the first one where everything goes hunky-dory and smooth. Nobody cares. Everybody's happy. It's about when things are not going right. Are you guys working together with the mall, both on the marketing, promotions, or any activity that you're looking at? And yesterday evening, Sahil, yesterday afternoon, whatever, you and I were discussing about a particular mall, we won't name it, where the guy is coming to you on a regular basis saying what else is to be done to make it happen, to improve the sales. That's what I think Munish is asking, is that discussion happening or not?
So when we realized that certain brands, when they're not doing well, we started this for PIP program, where we put the brand under a performance improvement plan for 3 months to 6 months. And we closely monitor their performances, which means we are concerned. And the brand also knows that they are under observation in ICU. So they know that in 6 months, if they are not performing, either we relook at the terms of the contract or we relook at the entire arrangement. And that, what happened, because of this, the brands have doubled their performances. They have improved the performance because there's a pressure there. So it's like a positive catalyst if you can look at it. So we have experimented and we've got certain reasonable success also.
I'm sure we've seen the success with our employees when we put them on PIP. You're doing the same. Thanks. That's a good input, Manish.
Yeah, hi Bimal.
Please, Neerav.
Hi, Neerav here. I represent Spencer's and Nature's Basket. So this is the first time I've ever heard something of that sort, honestly. And I'm glad my brands did not have to go on PIP in any of the malls that we're present in, and I hope they don't have to also. But Munish, thanks for the information. I think that's good, general knowledge that you increase. But yeah, honestly, I totally agree with what Munish is saying, okay? Like they say, it takes a village to raise a child, right? At least I can say from a hypermarket perspective, it takes a village to open a hypermarket. Trust me, it's a Herculean task to open a 30,000-40,000 square feet hypermarket, right? And that decision is not taken easy, right? There's a lot of work that goes behind opening any store. Forget a hypermarket also, even for example, a coffee shop, right? And gone are those days where we are opening stores just for the heck of it, right? Everybody wants to open stores only which are going to make money. So if we are investing 2, 3, 4,000 rupees a square feet to build that store, trust you me, a lot of might, brain, everything has gone into, making that P&L and coming to a conclusion that yes, we'll sign the store at this rental, this CAM, and the 10 extra charges that will get added on to the MOU, like the infrastructure and the property tax and the gift vouchers and the falana dinka, whatever that gets added on, right? So it's our P&L at the end of the day. So I completely get your point, Manish, but trust me, nowadays things have changed. I've been in the industry nearly 18, 19 years. Earlier, the ops guys were taken for a big ride if the stores did not do well. But now, I am on the line as well. My neck is on the line as well if I open a store which does not make money. Trust me.
See how the guys are saying yes here. The rules have changed.
Totally changed. So now it's a 50-50. I'm telling you, the operations guys are 50% involved and my neck is on the line 50% if I open a store that does not make money.
I guess it's good for the industry as a whole if everybody is accountable for it.
Hi, this is Indranil from Momo. To get out of this Pillai scheme which we discussed, I think the malls should also be sharing the competition sales as well to understand where an individual brand stands, whether he's performing, whether he's underperforming or something. In that way, they can pull up their socks as well.
I think, it's a fair point. And, what you guys must also reflect on is there are parts where you're negotiating with a retailer for better realizations. And there are parts where you're collaborating with them for larger good. How do you find the right balance? Because some of this transparency does come in the way of your better negotiations. So how do you find this right balance where you hold retailers accountable for trading density and yet keep your position strong?
Hi, this is Surjit from Amanora, Pune. Transparency, again, it's a very big question mark when it comes between developer and retailer, especially towards the sales figures. This is, I don't know why it is a surprise figure. It will, initially, I personally think if both the people share the real TD versus to real sales, it definitely helps for a joint collaboration to at least take the initiative towards where both the parties can be benefited. Like similarly, I was just saying the marketing plan. The moment the store is open, at least I have seen majority of the time, the retail marketing manager never turns back to the store. Maybe they're doing it on the store level, but they never come back to the mall management team and says, boss, all right, what's your yearly plan? How do you want to plan it? We can help it. Or maybe this is our plan. Second is, again, with retailers also. Maybe, you have like 200 plus stores in a particular mall. There are a couple of stores which are phenomenally doing very well. There are a couple of stores which are still struggling. There, the retailer is coming back and saying, boss, you don't have footfalls, you don't have quality footfalls. Maybe the product mix could be a question mark. Maybe it is too early for that market. Or maybe, the product mix which is being offered is not getting to. But to come to that dialogue is, again, very important. Where there is a huge gap. It's just always keep blaming, oh, you don't have footfalls, you have don't.
Just thinking wild, Manish, from your idea, maybe there is a scope for a mall consulting service for troubled retailers, and seriously, to create a turnaround package of sorts to help a mall which is going, to help a store which is going through troubled times. And, there could be, because the mall has a lot of insights, mall has database, the mall has common areas which can be used to promote the store, etc. And maybe there is a fee for that, by which it makes sense for the mall also to be able to help the retailer to bounce back to a certain level, and then it hopefully takes it from there.
So to answer that question, like how we can share Indranil sales data of competition, so what malls can do on a monthly basis, they can do a category analysis, who are the top 3 and who are the bottom 3, and start figuring out how the bottom 3 can improve their performance, but it has to be done in a consistent manner, in a disciplined manner, through an MIS. So that way, I think it will be a win-win for both the mall and the brands.
That's a brilliant idea, but I will be happy to. Yeah, absolutely. Why shouldn't we know where we stand in the mall in the same category? We'll be happy, and when things go wrong in a wrong store, a store which does not perform, I think it's both inward and outward. Before going to the mall, that why numbers are not happening, or blaming the mall that mall is not bringing in the right footfalls, we also start looking inwards. That maybe our product mix, our category mix, our price mix is not relevant to the mall, and we need to tweak that. Maybe our marketing is not doing anything. Maybe store operations are an issue. So, I mean, it's a mix of both. And I mean, while the PIP program is a brilliant,
maybe you should not call it PIP.
Yeah, I know.
It has other not so fond thoughts attached to it.
We need to rename it.
Okay, on that note, we have 5 more minutes. I'm going to throw this open to the audience. Any thoughts that you have from this esteemed panel, either from the mall developers or from the retailers, on how we could make progress together? Yeah, can somebody give him a mic?
I think one thing which we
would you like to introduce yourself?
I'm Manoj Agarwal. I run a mall consultancy company based out of NCR. I think we talk in most of our forums, the thing in this which comes out each time is the point of collaboration. I think collaboration is probably the strongest focus here. 2-3 quick suggestions on some of the points discussed. One is that about the tenure length. Now, as I understand, the mall is looking for performance, some new flavor. The retailer side is looking for a tenure which gives them stability and a turnaround time, etc., etc. So the best match, in my view, could be, which is being done in some malls, is have a tenure subject to a performance clause. The performance could be in a number of bands. It need not be, all or none type of thing. So that's one. Secondly is that there is communication, to my knowledge, which goes around on marketing front, intimation front. But a lot of it is going through via the store manager at times. Now the store manager, unfortunately, is an entity who is not so empowered as they should be, because they are the guys on the ground. That's the second thing. Third is on this, there could be, in today's IT world, you could have a web page, you could have a Facebook page, a social media page, where you can have a collaboration platform between the brand and the retailer. And the last one is that when we are talking of ideal requirements from a retailer, I'll just read out quickly. I think first is safety and security, because when I go around malls, and many people from the development community, when they go around, they find that security and safety at the store level, there are many issues. Second is what I mentioned of the store manager, that's the empowerment part. Third is what we discussed is the syncing of marketing. Then the aesthetics and the maintenance of them, because at the time of fit out, things happen well. So I'm saying these 3, 4, 5 things, if they are wrapped around together, then we'll have an ideal retailer, in my view. Thank you.
Thank you, Manoj. I think you've saved the summarizing effort for Bimal and me. Thank you for that. A round of applause for Manoj. Thank you for that. Any other thoughts? Last couple of thoughts? Yes.
Ashish Kumar Santhalia from Express Avenue. This is something for the retailers. See, what have we understood in the past few years is we make a wish list of brands today. So when we go to the brands, they ask us numbers, which one of the gentlemen rightly asked. But still, when we give them numbers, then they said, okay, what capex will you give us? Because we created a wish list for the brands. I think the brands should stop asking capex from the malls itself. That's not the right thing. When they want a larger lease period, they want capex, then why do a store there? It should be a win-win situation. And the second point that we noticed is a lot of people also want to enter the market and the mall, and when we give them space and when they don't perform. So when we go to them and tell them, see, your brand is not doing as expected, what do? They say, hamara paisa lag gaya hai, ye wo. So we've never asked the store back. We've always told them, replace that store with another store of yours. So that's where they have to also evolve, because today if I don't get footfalls in the mall, as you rightly said, Vishak, nobody will enter the mall. So it's all about footfall, it's all about experience. So that's where I see there's a big gap between a retail perception also, that Chennai hai, so ye brand nahi karega. Chennai is not a village. But saying that, perception should change. That's my personal opinion again.
All right, thanks for sharing that. One last thought, anybody? All right, okay, the panelists again, okay, all right.
So I happened to be the jury yesterday, wherein I was judging a lot of marketing presentations from various malls. And that makes me draw a very interesting conclusion here. Now, when we spend crores and crores of money on marketing, but when we sign the lease, a beautiful term called trading density is asked from retailers. When you are putting in so much effort, why don't you also say that I'm equally confident about success of my mall, and hence let's be partner on this trading density, and not only me committing some number. You also come forward and say, yes, here is my mall, here is my marketing plan, so is yours. Here is the good brand. Let's walk on this journey together. Whenever I am not able to perform, am I to squarely blame as a brand? And you say that mall is absolutely clean.
All right, thank you for sharing that. I think the good news is this, guys. From the time that we started malls, sold out malls, no flow, no zoning, etc., to better evolved malls and Mall 3.0, Mall 4.0. The good news is the good malls today drive trading density, drive footfalls, drive business, and they're very proud of that. The good news is that that's exactly what retailers want. Every retailer wants to be in a successful mall. I think we've made a lot of interesting exchange of thoughts. Thank you for that. Big round of applause for all our panelists. Bimal, you want to close it with anything?
No, you've already summarized, and I think Manoj did a great job. But thank you guys for being here and sharing your thoughts. I want to say thanks to Vishak for changing the status quo and saying that let's do a different session. I hope you guys enjoyed it. So thanks, Vishak.